worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown. I'm just telling you to fight for your dreams, but it's not what it seems. Man, it's hard to be seen when everybody wants to be king. Yeah, they all want to ring. Yeah, we all want to be.
The Detroit Lions defeat the Chicago Bears in a great game by the Lions, whooping on them 41-10. This is the post-game show on Lions Nation Unite, and I'm here by Dan the Man. What's going on, Dan?
You know, just like everybody else, it's a victory Sunday here in Detroit.
And then we're here with Ant-Man. We're here. What's going on, Ant-Man?
Hey, Mike. Hey, Dan. You know, I thought Christmas was last week, but it just turns out that the best present that I've had over the entire holiday period just happened today. A thorough ass-whooping of the Chicago Bears is just a perfect way to bring in the new year, and I am oh so happy right now.
Hey, the best part of waking up is Chicago Bears getting beat up. And that's what it's all about right now. We got 9 people in the building. Make sure you go ahead and hit that like button. Andy Henlon just became a rookie. Welcome to being a member on Lions Nation Unite YouTube channel. We really do appreciate over here having a good time. Ant-Man, thoughts on this game? Just initial thoughts.
Oh man, it was everything that I wanted this weekend and more probably, you know. After last week, you know, it was humiliating. We were really thoroughly beaten up, but like Dan Campbell said, maybe it was the lesson in humility we needed, and as long as we came out this week and showed that we'd learned our lessons, that we cared, that we were gonna bounce back from this, then that's all I wanted to see, and we did. You know, after that first drive, they waltzed through as you're thinking, oh, God, the worst's going to happen. They're going to run all over us. But, you know, they got the stop. They kept scoring. And then the most impressive part, they got in front and they did not stop. They started sacking fields. They kept putting points on the board. They kept getting turnovers. And they literally destroyed them. It was everything I wanted to see this week. I'm so happy with the team, the coaches, every single one of them.
What was your initial thoughts, Dan, of this game?
You know, I talked about earlier in this week, I thought the game would ultimately come down to our offensive and defensive lines. And boy, both of them showed up today. You know, James Houston is now the NFL leader in rookie sacks, and Aidan Hutchinson's number 2. I'm sure it's going to be the talk all week long and maybe even the off season, how James Houston might just end up being the Tom Brady of this year's draft. Just the most forgotten guy on draft day. But man, Detroit Lions defense is looking like they picked up somebody who could be a beast for them for years to come. Coaching staff-wise, I'll say this. You know, Dan Campbell, I think, was absolutely right. The team maybe got a little full of themselves, watched the media too much. You know, obviously got punched in the mouth last week. But boy, did they take it out on Justin Fields and the Bears as a whole today.
You know, when that first couple drives by Chicago offense, I was thinking, oh, my God, not again. What is going on with this run defense? I'm about to lose it. Justin Fields just running all over us. They kept blitzing on third down. It's driving me crazy, but then it just stopped. And the Lions defense just straight up smacked them in the face. It was glorious. And then you had the Lions offense just continue to score points and score points. It was glorious. We needed this. We needed a absolute smoking of this team. Not just a victory, but a smoking. Why? Because you needed to build the confidence up after getting smoked against the Carolina Panthers. Now you have that confidence back heading to Green Bay for the final game of the year. It will dictate if the Lions make the playoffs or not. It's huge. We still need some help here from the New York Jets, who right now are down 0-10, but they're in field goal range. We'll see if they can get that done. But it was really good to see the Lions just absolutely dominate. Just absolutely dominate from beginning to end. How Ant-Man, James Houston, is going on? 3 sacks in this game, Ant-Man.
Yeah, there's a reason he's called the problem. This is exactly what he did when he was at Jackson State last season. He lived in the opposition backfield, and he does it just because he's got such an arsenal of pass rush moves. You see them, and that can dictate. A lot of guys at the top, they just specialize in a few things, but they're that good at it that it just works all the time. If you're not that sort of guy, the bigger your repertoire, the more dangerous you are. You see it. He spins, he ducks, he dives, he bull rushes, he does everything you could want. And he's a nightmare for tackles to deal with because they just don't know how he's going to attack them. And the great thing in a game like this with a guy like Justin Fields, he's a guy who likes to scramble. He's a guy who likes to go running. And Houston, with his speed and the way that he's honed in on the quarterback, you saw it because he forced the fumble as well in this one. When Fields coughed it up, he hit him from behind because that is sort of the way he works. He's just like a heat-seeking missile. And Fields is the perfect sort of quarterback for him to go after. So, yeah, he's a great player, and he simply got overlooked because he played in the HBCUs, which are an overlooked group of college teams. So, he shouldn't be. He was a very talented guy. It's taken time. He's had to go on the practice squad, but he's done it. He's done the grinding work. He's gone. He's done what's been asked of him. He's come on. He's had minimal snaps, and he's just taken advantage of it all the time. And yeah, this was a perfect game for him. So I'm delighted. He's going to be a fantastic player for us going forward. Once he gets the run aspect of the game done, yeah, he may as well have been a day 1 or a day 2 pick the way you're going on with him. I love him.
Dan, is James Houston like one of the biggest diamonds in the rough picks that we've had in some time? I mean, this guy he's an absolute dog. I think now he leads all NFL rookies with 8 sacks over Aidan Hutchinson.
Yeah, that's correct. He's the NFL leader for rookies with 8 sacks in just 6 games, and that's the incredible part about it. I mean, I get he's fresh. I get he hasn't played 17 games. To me, Mike, the only thing that's really held him back, and I think you could see it last week against Carolina and then the first couple drives today against Chicago, is his run shedding on blocks just isn't there. I mean, they're going to have to really work with him the rest of this season and then the off season to get him up to speed. But, in the passing game, he's just an absolute monster. And you would really have to go back to, probably the early 90s, maybe late 80s to find somebody that is this valuable that late in the draft that the Lions hit on. He's a monster, like we've all seen. He's just incredibly difficult to block because you check his ankles, you check his ability to bend at the waist and use his shoulders. He's a problem for every NFL tackle to block consistently. And I was happy to see his first sack of the day was actually on a bull rush move, something he's just not great at, but he's clearly developing.
You got to show some love to this guy. 59 in the comment section. Show some love to James Houston. Show some love to James Houston. We are scoreboard watching. Jets scored a field goal. It is 3-10, and the Vikings are 4th and goal at the. They just scored a field goal, so the Vikings are up 3-0. So it's going good right there. Aidan Hutchinson got another interception. Ant-Man, another sack, interception. He leads all. He leads all rookies in interceptions. That's one stat I was not expecting Aidan Hutchinson to have when we drafted this guy. Aidan's balling. Show some love to Aidan. What'd you see from him?
Well, it's just the relentless motor, really, isn't it? Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, they draft guys, with the high motors, the high energy, never take a play off guys. And even when it doesn't work for him, you see that just the relentlessness is still there. And I think he's learning. You saw in the first game against Chicago, there were a few overcommittals against Fields. He was a little bit too rash on some of his rushes. Fields got away from him. They kept highlighting on TV today just how well he was, marshalling Fields when Fields was running at him or trying to escape. It seemed like that discipline with him. He learned. He'd obviously watched his tape from before, picked out his flaws, worked on them, and in this game, he was a completely different player. And that is what the best guys do. They find the faults in the game and they fix them. And with Hutch, he's just on such a run of form at the moment. I just think the confidence is there with him. He's a leader on this defensive line. He's leading by example, and that is where you spend your number two NFL, pick in the draft. You want someone who has that. Who has that aura about him, who's able to do it. And, so far it's proven to be a very sensible use of the number two pick. So, yeah, Hutch has just been incredible. But as I say, it all comes down to the motor and the high intensity with which he plays at. But every single pick that Holmes and Campbell make is Rodrigo's the same. Pascal had a great game. I think he had 2 sacks, didn't he, on the day? Just these guys, they're relentless. Just other teams, they can't deal with them. Tevin Jenkins injured, Michael Schofield injured. Their linemen were dropping like flies because they couldn't deal with us. And that is how Dan Campbell will win games. He'll smash your team to bits. And he smashed Chicago's team to bits today.
And that's exactly what they did. The offense and defensive lines was absolutely dominating. The Packers just scored a touchdown. I'm not sure how. It just popped up there. So the Packers in the lead. We need Minnesota to win that game as well. Kind of knock them out, but we're scoreboard watching there. Not too worried about it. I still think that the Vikings probably get that victory there. Just really good. It was nice to see Sudfeld out there, huh? Nice to see Sudfeld out there, Dan.
It's nice to have a game where you've wrapped everything up, and really the fourth quarter was just a formality. I mean, the Lions were just committed to burning up some clock. They took a couple passes here and there, but yeah, midway through the fourth quarter, I don't think there was any fight left in Chicago. Everybody just wanted to get the game over. Sudfeld gets out of there, and I was happy with that because the few pass plays they did call with Goff in there in the start of the fourth quarter, he took a couple little hits, nothing major, but knowing that he is the quarterback of this team, knowing that we do have basically a playoff game next week, we needed to get him out of there, and Motor City Dan did get him out. So that was good to see Sudfeld get in and finish the game.
DeAndre Swift, I thought he had a mixed game, but man, that 3rd and 18, Ant-Man, where he did the spin move, got the first down, it was really nice to see his burst.
Oh, absolutely. And you kind of seen the old DeAndre back, I think, before he had the dip of form, a guy who the vision's there. He was following the blocks as well for the touchdowns. He was hitting the right gaps, following the right guys, everything that we've kind of been critical of him not doing over the last few weeks. But I think you can kind of see in there, he realizes the position's under threat. Jamal had a wonderful game today, but I kind of felt for the first time like the two of them worked in tandem. Jamal did all the heavy hitting, the big yards, and got some big chunk plays out there. And then Swift came in. He was clinical, and they just couldn't handle us on the ground. It was kind of exactly what the Panthers did to us last week. It was a two-headed snake who just absolutely beat their way through a battered Bears side. But Swift has been really impressive. He's really improving as the year goes on, and we're going to need him next week. All our big playmakers, we are going to need to play like that next week. And if Williams and Swift are doing that again at Lambeau, that's going to make our job there so much easier. But Swift was really impressive. Williams was really impressive. And the offensive line, they got their act together. They started run blocking like a good group and making the gaps. And it just all worked today. Whatever problems they had last week, they worked on in training and they've solved them. And that's what you want during the season. So I got no complaints there whatsoever.
Dan, what do you think about the run game? DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams got it done today, boy. He was on fire.
I think, like both Swift and Williams, like Ant-Man said, they really complemented each other today. But I thought the Lions did a very good job of getting other people involved, obviously using J-Mo on the sweep, just other things to put the Chicago Bear defense in a position where they couldn't just tee off on our line and clog up the middle of our offensive line like Carolina did the week before. I think our OC definitely looked at it. Ben Johnson said, hey, we've got to do something a little bit more out of the running game, which had been stagnant for about a month now, and find a way to just keep defenses off balance, much like we do with a lot of our pass schemes where we have 4 or 5 setups that look exactly like this play or that play. I thought Ben Johnson did a very good job of just putting enough pressure on the Chicago defense to have to maintain outside leverage that really denied them the ability to overload the guards.
100%. I think they I think they did a really good job there, and that's something that we wanted to see. I think everybody wanted to see that. After the Carolina, even in the Jets game, it was a little bit rough there. We finally got Jamison Williams involved. He got one touch for 40 yards. They tried to give him the football. It just wasn't working except for that jet sweep. What do you think about Jamison Williams in the game, Ant-Man?
Well, it just makes this team all the more dangerous. And you saw kind of how they used him. It wasn't even really in the passing game today. It was using him in motion, putting him in the backfield. And that's just how dangerous a weapon he can be for us and how dynamic he can make this offense. I just think you have to earn your way into this offense. Doesn't matter whether you're a first overall pick, doesn't matter whether you're a seventh round pick. All the other guys have had to earn their way in there. And Jameson, slowly but surely, I think he's starting to earn the trust. He's been out for a while. He's learning how things work. You can see them starting to trust him more with targets. It's always going to be the case where a receiver takes a bit of time to grow into a side. But it was great to see them sort of manufacture touches for him today as well. Like I say, with the motion and all that, and it kind of gets his confidence up, gets the team going, and it just makes the offense a lot more dangerous when he's in there. So I'm looking forward to seeing him get more and more and more involved, and hopefully the Packers game next week is the one where he really comes out and explodes. But I like the way they've been using him so far, just slowly easing him in. That's the way we'll get the best out of him.
What do you think of Jamison Williams? Again, I still want to get more touches from him. It just feels that way. Man, Seattle on the doorstep again, about to score another touchdown. Not looking good for the Lions there. So what do you think of Jamison Williams there, Dan?
Well, let's say this so far, for his career, he's got one rush for 40-plus yards. He's got one pass reception for 40-plus yards and a touchdown. So, if he can just maintain these averages on a gamely basis, he might be the best player in NFL history. But either way, I was glad to see them use him in a little bit more than just the jet sweep today. They got him out on a screen pass. He got deflected, so he didn't get it. A couple of intermediate routes, which predominantly in the past games, they'd only been using him on deep routes. So you can see he's starting to get comfortable, or the offensive coordinator and Goff are getting more comfortable using him in different positions. I think it's just a matter of time until he starts really, truly affecting the game. But unlike a lot of these other rookies that are stepping into starting roles just because, especially on the defensive side of the ball, there's just nobody in front of them to contest them for minutes. Jamison Williams is going up against a couple of receivers that are pretty good on this team, so he's really having to earn whatever he gets.
Now the Minnesota Vikings aren't doing that good here, so I'm scoreboard watching here because we got to. It stinks, man. We need some help. We need some help in this mug. What do you think about the Lions defense, Ant-Man? What they did, Aaron Glenn and his performance?
I think they adjusted, which was the critical thing. The first drive was really bad. It was kind of the same stuff we'd had in the first game. Fields escaping, finding the gaps, breaking off the big chunk plays, hard to bring him down, and then they were mixing the play action in, and then Cole Kmet got the touchdown. And quite frankly, at this point, I am sick to death of Cole Kmet. He seems to get a touchdown against us every single time. It was just the same old issues. But then something changed. When we got the score up, when we went 14-10 up, we finally got a stop in there. It just seemed that the confidence came back. You had the drive. I think it was where Pascal got the sack first through the bull rush, and then Houston got the second sack afterwards. They had to punt it away, and that seemed to turn everything around for them. I think sort of the belief came back then that they could get to him and that they could affect the game. And from that point onwards, they didn't score a point. We just absolutely starved them. The pass rush was really effective. They were creative in the looks they were bringing up. They were disciplined more against the run. I mean, their receivers caused us zero problems all day. The secondary guys were really impressive. Just all facets of the defense were. It just started shaky. But they adjusted, and that was the critical thing. They didn't do it last week. They did this week, and then they just went into full lockdown mode. And the amount of punishment they leveled on Justin Fields it's exactly what it needed to be. Their offensive line is not that great. You go after the quarterback. He is the heart and soul of that team. You crush him, you crush that offense, and that's exactly what we did. So I think they got it bang on after a shaky start. I was very impressed all these young guys making so many plays, doing so well for us. All first year guys, Pascal first year, Hutch first year, Houston first year. The guys on the interior blocking well, maintaining the gap discipline. The linebackers played well. Anzalone played well. It was, and then the young secondary guys, they were left on an island because we were pass rushing so much, but they were absolutely great against their receiver core. So yeah, defense really, really impressed me today, and hopefully that continues.
Seattle Seahawks scored another touchdown. It's 17-3. Not looking good for the Lions there. Looks like they're getting it done right now for them. And Green Bay is charging for another score. Do you think, Dan, the Lions make the playoffs? Do you think they make the playoffs?
I think it's all going to come down to next week in Green Bay. You win, I think we're in. If not, the season's done. But, coming into the season, my goal was 6 wins for this team, but they've superseded that. This second half rally by the team, just you see a lot of the promise in the future. So whether or not we make the playoffs, I'm going to say this. We went a full season in every game, especially in October, November, December, mattered. And heck, we're playing meaningful games in January now. That's something the Lions team hasn't been able to say in half a decade. So I hope we make it. I think we have a chance to beat Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, but we're probably going to need that win and then just a little bit of help.
What do you think, Ant-Man? Do the Lions make the playoffs? Also in the comment section, Y for yes if you think they do, and for no if you think they don't. Do you think they make the postseason?
I don't know. Not because of us, but because of other results elsewhere. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm kind of with Dan. I don't really care whether we do it. Of course, I want us to, but this season has been one of tremendous improvement. And if we can go to Green Bay and win, even if we don't make it, then all that says is we're not there just yet. We're not quite ready. And you know what? That's fine. I don't mind. Next year we're going to come back and it will be our time. But I don't know. It feels a long shot at the moment. We've got to go to Lambeau. We've got to deal with them first before we even start worrying about other fixtures. It's still, even if they're a mid-team this year, a mid-Green Bay going to their home ground in January with playoff implications on the line for a team that isn't used to it, it's an incredibly tough ask. So let's just go there and beat them first and see what happens. I mean, chances are we might get flexed into a Saturday game, so then it puts pressure on all the other teams around us on the Sunday to go out there and do it. Funnier things have happened, but I just love what this team's done this year from 1-6, and it'll be a success no matter what.
I want to make the playoffs really, really bad. I think it'd be a great cherry on top for the season. These other teams that we need, it's not getting it done, man. It stinks. We need the Jets. Come on, get it together. We need them to score over there. And I really don't want to root for the Rams next week. I'm not going to lie. We got a $1.99 super chat from Imagine How Many Sacks Houston if all 17 games. I know. You wonder how many sacks. I mean, he's killing it right now. Great super chat from Nick H. Thank you so much, man, for that super chat. How many do you think you would have had? Oof. I don't know. The rate he's going, he's up there. He could have like 15 sacks if they started all. But was he prepared week 1? I don't know. Maybe not. What do you think? How many sacks do you think he could get if he started all 17?
Who are you asking?
You know what? I'll hot take it. I reckon if he'd have started game 1, he wouldn't have had as many sacks as he does now. I think certain players, I mean, imagine he's in that 1-6 team, the one that's getting battered every week, the one that's not getting much pressure, and that could knock a player's confidence. He was on the practice squad. He's been able to practice without any pressure, without any prior, and then he's come in, he's got a few snaps, under the radar, not the guy who's getting marked all the time, who's been able to get it. And I think he's been brought into a perfect situation where he's been allowed to flourish. I think if he'd have started the season, that would not have been the case. There's a reason he was picked in the 6th round. There is polishing to his game that needs doing. So I think he would have had less than he has now. I just think we've done it absolutely perfectly with this development.
What do you think? Do you think he'd have more if he started at 17? How many? there, Dan?
Oh, I'll go the opposite of man. Just so everybody's got something to talk about. But I say if you would have started from week one and stayed healthy, we'd be looking at him finishing out the season around 20 sacks. Obviously, you would have had to stay healthy and he had to stay on the field. But at the rate he's going, I mean, it's very realistic he could get one or two more next week, and in just 7 games, have 10 sacks. So he's on a monster tear.
Early, but now we took over and we win. And that is what we're about.
All 3 phases for all 4 quarters. We ain't done yet. Enjoy this. Let's get back to work, man. Family on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Just letting you listen to the locker room quick of the Detroit Lions. That was DeAndre Swift with the family. I wish they would have showed it more. That's all they showed there for you guys to hear it. But I think he's going to have more. I'm going to definitely go more. I think he probably has like 15 sacks. He started all 17. Would he start off strong? Maybe not. But he is definitely balling for sure. And, oof, I'm not looking good for my fantasy championship game. Just keep the scoreboard watching, doing all this. Lions versus Packers. Big game Sunday, Ant-Man. Biggest game I think that This is huge, man. This is huge. What do the Lions got to do on Sunday for this game? Aaron Rodgers at Green Bay. This is a giant game for Detroit.
They've got to go out there and play like it's the last game of football they're ever going to play. Just leave absolutely everything out there like you do today. Because, no one's going to be ashamed of us if we go to Lambeau and lose. Because it's a lot of teams go there. And a lot of better teams have gone there and lost. And like I say, maybe it's just not your time for the playoffs. But they have everything to lose. They're a team who are in win-now mode. They're paying their quarterback an absolute shit ton of money. And there's pressure on them. We can just go there, fight like we do as the underdog, leave it all out there. And you know what? For the first time in years, I feel like we can go there and beat them. I think us at our best are a better team than them at their best. And I think we can absolutely go there and kick their ass. So they've just got to do what they did today. You've just got to be dominant on both trenches. Trench warfare is where you win it with this team. Win the offensive line battle, win the defensive line battle, and you will beat a lot of teams in this league, including them. So just leave absolutely everything out there for this one. That's what they've got to do.
What do you think? Lions, Green Bay, Dan, what do the Lions got to do next week?
Got to control the clock, eat up as much time as possible, and our secondary, which today was probably the best game they've had in over a month. But part of that is also because Justin Fields is not yet a great pocket passer, and Chicago's receivers are very beat up. So they're going to face perhaps their biggest challenge of the season in Green Bay, our secondary versus Rodgers and his receivers. And our offensive line has got to give Goff time and produce on the running game.
Do you think that in the comment section the Lions will defeat the Green Bay Packers? Let me know in the comment section. This is going to be a tough game. I need Green Bay to lose this game. I need Detroit to dominate this game and get that victory. I think this is the first time in a long time I feel like the Lions can do that. I really do. The offense is lit. The offense has firepower. If you look at all the people that Jared Goff threw to in this last game, it's like every tight end, every player is a weapon. They consistently go down, and you have to cover the whole field offensively. That's how good this offense is, and we can get it done. We can get Packers scored a touchdown, 14-3. I don't know what is going on here. Oh, my goodness. The first half of the games look well, but the second half is not looking so good. Here we go. Oh,
you want to make
God.
The playoffs, Mike, if you want to make the playoffs, you've got to beat the best sides. You beat a Green Bay team which can make the playoffs itself, then you've earned the right to be there.
You still want the Vikings to win. I don't care about, well, I want this and that. I still want the Vikings to win. I still want the Jets to win. I'm tired of the Green Bay Packers because you know who the media will be on. That Lions and Packers game. There we go. Referees making a play because they want Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows that's going to be the case. And I don't like that. Of course, I'd love to beat Karen Rodgers, but golly, man, I want them to win in a big way. So watching this is tough right now, and seeing this, but it is what it is. Second half, not going forward Detroit's way, and pick 6, taking it to the house. That stinks. Do you think the Lions defense, Dan, can hold down Aaron Rodgers next week?
If the pass rush plays like it did today, Rodgers would be in trouble. It's also going to come down to the weather conditions we're going to face there, but Detroit's secondary is going to be the key to the game. I have no doubt the pass rush can get there, but our secondary has got to be able to lock up those receivers enough where eliminate big plays and just make Aaron Rodgers and his offense keep chipping away. You're going to have to make them go 10, 12 plays down the field to score. If they can do that, I think the defensive line will get there enough to force them in 3rd and longs and get them off the field.
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough, and I don't like this because we all want the Lions to make the playoffs. I do. I really do. It's gonna be tough, though. It is definitely gonna be tough to do that. But let's get back to the Lions and Bears. Just seeing this is frustrating on the TV right here. Detroit Lions and Bears. Love what I saw on offense. Just relentless. Besides the end, in which I totally get it. They're just trying to run the clock out, and I care less. But they were absolutely relentless in this game. Do you think they need to be that way against the Packers? Just no matter what, put the foot down, Ant-Man.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, what makes our offense so dangerous is just the sheer number of targets out there. I mean, he had, 12 different receivers today? And, Jared Goff is dealing. I can't think of really one throw today where I went, oh my God, he's put that in harm's way. He's in such good form at the moment. And, that makes it dangerous. Are we going to go and hit the deep men? Are we going to go for Chark? Chark's been amazing, made some great catches today. J-Mo's getting more involved. Amon-Ra is Amon-Ra. Are we going to sneak the tight ends off the edge, which we've been doing a lot recently? Are we going to hit the running backs out the backfield? The screening game seemed a lot better today. It's just, there's so many ways our offense can hurt you, and there's so many ways we utilize it. So for an opposition defense, it's kind of like, well, who the hell do we pay attention to? Because they've got so many ways, and Ben Johnson seems to be able to exploit that. He did with the Bears today. They just looked all at sea. There was always a man schemed open because, he'd sold them a look and he got personnel on there and they completely bit on it. So, yeah, just keep this offense going. It's unpredictable. You don't know what's coming, but when it needs to be, it just needs to be good old-fashioned ground and pound that'll break you. But it has that edge to be more than that. It's like the Titans, they're just a running team, and that's all they can do. You stop that, their offense is garbage. Ours, you stop our running game, we can still hurt you because of the weapons we've got. So just carry on doing what you're doing. There's no wrong with the offense at the minute. And, yeah, do the same next week against Green Bay, and you will have success against them, especially if you can run the ball well. Because that's their Achilles heel, and it has been for years, running the ball on them. So I fancy our chances of putting points down on them for sure.
Let's talk about some winners in this game. Dan, who is a big winner for you on the offense?
I'm going to go with Goff. He's the guy who's going to touch the ball on every offensive possession. And once again, he didn't turn the ball over. He completed a ton of passes, high percentage. I think just before halftime, he had hit 10 different receivers. I'll say this. We all kind of had questions about why the Lions traded T.J. Hutchinson, but I'll say this. Obviously, the coaching staff knew they could get probably better production out of multiple tight ends and schematically cause a lot more fits for other teams. Goff he's your leader. He's in charge of leading this offense into the promised land, hopefully the postseason. And for the last, I don't even know, probably 10 games, you're going to really struggle to find too many better quarterbacks over that span.
Who's a winner for you on offense there, Ant-Man? In the comment section, blow up with your winners. Throw in there, man. Let's see your winners in the comment section.
Chark's the winner for me. I think we're starting to finally see from him what the Lions wanted to. He only had a couple of catches today, but they were big. There was that really special one-hander what he made behind the defender.
Yeah,
It was in a
that was
clutch
nice.
situation. He had another deep one downfield. I really think him and Goff are starting to click now. The injury worries are behind, and he's become a legit threat on this offense, which is what's made it more dangerous. You've got to put so much coverage on him. You've got to give him so much attention, and look what that does for the tight ends. The tight ends get so much room. With Zylstra last week, right this week. So what having a guy like DJ Chark does to your offense. So the props are up for him this week because, again, having him just makes this offense a lot better.
I'll go Jamal Williams. I think he's an absolute winner. Over 160 yards rushing and that big giant one at the end of the game in the fourth quarter. He was feeling it. You can feel him. He tied up Barry Sanders' touchdown record. He is a game away from passing it. Love what he did. He just physical, never gives up in the run game, always fighting. Love what I saw from him. He is my winner on offense. Who's another winner for you, Dan, for the Lions on offense?
Can I go with the entire offensive line?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Because those guys, they get under. There's just no stats for them, so they get overlooked too often. But while Goff, did get hit a couple times today, still they were opening up holes. They kept, for the most part, Goff clean. And without those guys, Goff would be Justin Fields today. He'd be getting killed left and right. So the offense is clicking, and I'd say this. We've talked about it before on some of these post-game shows. I think Taylor Deckard is playing the best football overall throughout his entire career. Sewell's obviously trending towards being one of the best right tackles in all of football. And then you got the guards and Frank Ragnow, who's basically playing on one foot. And these guys have come together. They've opened up holes today in the running game. They kept Goff clean, and they were a big reason why we controlled the entire game outside of the first quarter.
How the hell is Penei Sewell not in the Pro Bowl? How is this guy not in the Pro Bowl? This dude is an elite right tackle. You can't get past this guy. I was watching Penei Sewell, and even in the run game, he would get off the block and he'd consistently go down the field and push people aside. I'm like, how is this guy not in the Pro Bowl? He's got to be the best right tackle in all football. And man, how is he not in there?
Because he plays for Detroit. That's kind of, I know it's an age-old thing, but he does. Ragnow gets in there because no one really knows about centers, and he is one of the best ones there. But outside of that, I think it's just straight-up disrespect. I can't think of anyone who's playing better than him at right tackle at this moment in time, especially at such a young age. He's a second-year guy who's only just beginning to scratch his potential. So, this is why you invest 3 first-round picks in your offensive line. You need them to come up and kick ass for you, and that's what they did today. That Chicago D-line was bad, and they let them know it. They just ran the hell out of them all day. It's like, yeah, you shouldn't even be on a field with us. They're that good, and this is what we need our offensive line to be. And we need it to be the same next week against Green Bay. So, yeah, Sewell is just amazing. And you know what? Let them keep their rewards and that. We know how good Sewell is. Sewell's going to win the silverware with us. That'll be enough for him, and that'll be enough for us. So,
done a phenomenal job. Offensive line was absolutely amazing. Let's go some winners on defense here. I'm going to give some love to, how about some Ifutu Malfano? He made some good plays in there, got a half a sack. In for Deshaun Elliott. Now, he wasn't amazing, but at least we seen him. He wasn't getting destroyed. So I'm going to give him a winner on my list as an underrated guy. A big question mark was, how is Elliott going to be out? And he locked down after the first couple drives. He was doing his thing. Dan, who's a winner for you on defense?
I'm going to go with the tie between Hutch and then Houston. Those guys, they're very similar in some ways, very opposite in other ways. But, man, is the future bright for the Detroit defense. Hutchinson reminds me of Bruce Smith a ton. He's got that size. He's got the length. He plays multiple spots on the defensive line. And where once we probably were questioning why Aaron Glenn and the defense would have him drop into coverage, but you can see it. He is a very savvy player. Like Bruce Smith, he can power rush you. He can split people inside and get after you. But he knows the game, and who would have ever thought he would lead the NFL for rookies with 3 picks, have just shy of 8 sacks, couple, fumble recoveries. He's just a monster. And, we've already talked about Houston, but these two guys, man, our future is
Brad Holmes
bright.
is a winner. Brad Holmes is an absolute winner. This guy's finding – well, his draft has just been absolutely amazing. Finding studs in the later rounds, and that's what you need in a good general manager. That's why this team has been bad for many years, is their just inability to find quality talent in mid to late rounds, and he's finding these talent. James Houston is – what a pickup. Like, it's crazy to see a rookie like him absolutely dominate. And it made Charles Harris expendable. It has. And it's going to save us some money next year because you can release Charles Harris. Who's a winner for you on defense? Ant-Man.
I think the big winner for me, given that he's been injured this year, I'd give it to give it to Josh Pascal. I think Pascal is an integral part of this team going forward. I mean, he got the first sack of the game. He started the ball rolling here. It was just such a powerful ball. He took Braxton Jones and Justin Fields at the same time. It was such a dominant, game-changing play. It allowed us to get into 3rd and long. That's when Houston came on and got his sack. So, you could argue that Pascal started this whole thing off. And, we know what Hutch is, which is, a do-it-all D-end who's going to change games for you. You know what Houston is, a pass rush specialist in there, but you need the guy opposite, the reliable, dependable guy. And this is why we drafted Pascal, to be good against the run and to make impact plays in the pass game. And to see him come out today and make some very sort of high-impact plays for us, move the game in our favor, that's huge. We need him to develop and we need him to carry on getting better. And today was a great day for him. And if we get more of those, he's going to be, very soon, he might get lost in that sort of love for DNs at the minute, but he'll very quickly become a favorite of all of ours if he carries on the way he is.
Another thing, too, about what I liked from our defense there is Aidan Hutchinson did not over-pursue in this game, and that was something I was watching for. He stayed, and he held those edges down so Justin Fields couldn't run all over us. I was so happy to see him just be very clinical in his lanes, and that's what he did. And forcing the Bears to pass is the reason we won this game, and players like Aidan Hutchinson doing that was major, and you're not going to see that in the stats, but him just being sound, it was freaking amazing to see. It absolutely was. Derek Barnes had a good game, too. Came back in there, had some good tackles in this game. Alex Anzalone had some good tackles in this game. Much better performance, the secondary. I mean, what they gave up, like 7 yards passing? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Oh, my God. So huge shout out to the whole secondary right there for getting it done. I mean, that's just absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Let's talk about some losers. I'd say the losers is not much. I'm not even going to give a loser in this game. I'm not. Herman Moore will be on in 10 minutes, so we'll get to hear from him in this game. Can't wait for Herm to get on, and he'll give his thought. But losers, I guess you can always get better with penalties. I think that's it, though. But I must say, the referees, same old referee. Who do you got for a loser in this game, Dan?
Boy, that's going to be a tough one. I can't really think of anybody who played obviously poorly today, but I guess the only loser was Badgley because he didn't really get to kick too many field goals. So his stats kind of went down. Yeah,
it's not his fault. Not his fault, man. Yeah, I can't even come up with losers in this game. It is such a good – 41-10's dominating performance. I don't know.
I mean, there's one.
Okay.
And he's on his way out of Detroit. Amani Oruwari for stupid in penalty on the return. That's all he did all game, and it's just like, you know what? I'm tired of this now. Go elsewhere.
He's out. He won't be back next year. Amani Oruwari is done. He just can't get it right. He just can't get it right, and we're just like, the only time you hear this guy is something is bad. It's like, man, come on, man. Just so, yeah, you're right. I forgot about Amani. Just him doing the penalty there. Dan Campbell, what do you think about him kicking the field goal instead of going for it on 4th and 2. I thought it was a great idea to go up by 14 before the half. I thought it was smart. I'm saying kick the field goal, and he did. Dan, did you think that was the right call? I absolutely did.
I thought you continue to see reasons why he's maturing as a head coach. I mean, I get the temptations there. It's 4th and 1. You've got the momentum. They get it, fine. They probably end up scoring a touchdown. But I think the other part of it is the maturity of Campbell as a coach. You kick it there. You know that they've got little time left, no timeouts, and you start the third quarter with the ball. Why risk giving any momentum to Chicago? Because at that point, it was only an 11-point game. So I thought it was a good move by his part.
What do you think about that in his decisions in this game, Ant-Man?
I think you can see him improving every single week. I mean, initially when the play first came on, I was like, oh, yeah, let's go for it. We're on top. But then, they took the time out, they thought about it, and they came back on, took the points. And I think it was the right decision. The thing is, when you're on top in a game, you've just got to keep the scoreboard moving. Doesn't matter whether it's touchdowns, field goals, just keep racking the points up, put the scoreboard pressure on. And I think it was a very sensible decision from him. And then, he trusted his defense to come out, make a play at the end of the half. They did. They got the turnover. So, I love what he's doing at the minute. I think, Dan said he's just learning. And as long as you see that from your head coach, he's a new head coach. If you see him learning from his mistakes, getting better, then that's all you can really ask for him. But I thought he game managed it terrifically today. When you're in front, keep taking the points. And the pressure, the Bears just buckled under the pressure. They had to stop, they kept running the ball, but we just were able to stack the box because Fields wasn't throwing it. It just all worked in our favor today. So I thought Campbell got it spot on.
Spot on, I agree. What do you think about, we'll go Brad Holmes and then AG. What do you think about Brad Holmes, Dan? Or it's not Brad Holmes. What am I thinking? Ben Johnson. What am I doing? I'm bad with names. What do you think about Ben Johnson and his performance? I thought it was great. I didn't mind them relaxing in the fourth quarter. I could care less. It was just all about killing clock at that point. I was absolutely fine with that. But what do you think about Ben Johnson?
He keeps coming up with inventive ways to keep defenses off balance. He really is one of the better OCs in the league in having, like we talked about before, 5, 6, maybe 8 plays that all look the same but are very different. And because of that, he's doing a good job forcing other teams to just hesitate a little bit. That hesitation is allowing receivers to get open or helping with the running game. One thing I would throw at you, Mike, since we talked about Brad Holmes earlier, he's talked about how great his draft is, but think about this. Evan Brown, who's now and has been for a little while now, our starting right guard, we got him off of somebody else's practice squad.
Yeah.
So it was somebody the Texans identified should be on the practice squad, but didn't have enough faith to bring him up. We grabbed him last year, and he started at center for us at times till he got hurt and played very well. And now he's developing even more as a guard.
Yeah, for sure. He's done a great job. I loved Evan Brown. I liked re-signing him in free agency. Good center. He's played well at guard. All the injuries that we have to guard, for sure. It's a great point right there. Ant-Man, Ben Johnson, and his performance.
Yeah, terrific. I don't think there's much more you can say. Like I said earlier, Chicago didn't seem to know what was coming at them. We ran the ball really well, and then when the passing came out, there were just guys in so much space. We used motion well in the backfield when we needed to. Swift got a touchdown through the motion out the backfield. JMO had the big chunk gain there. We blocked really well. I think he coached a perfect game today. Their defense had no answer to what we did. And don't forget, this is a really good secondary you're facing off against today, which has got a lot of picks, a lot of turnovers, despite being injured. And at no point today did they really look like they were going to turn us over, get a possession back from them. That was just a testament to how well Ben Johnson did. He just completely nullified them. I didn't think it'd really be a passing game from us today, but it was a bit of both. We got it just right. Plenty of rushing, plenty of passing, the right variation. Not too predictable at all. I think we had 1 3 and out, and that was it all game. So, yeah, he called it perfectly. I think he found the weaknesses in that Chicago defense, and he just completely and utterly exploited them.
Looks like the Packers are going to win this game. They're in the red zone again. and the Jets are looking booty cheeks. So it's all going to come down to Week 18. It's all going to come down to Week 18. It looks like we'll have to root for the Rams to win the game, and obviously for the Lions to defeat the Green Bay Quackers. So I hate coming down. I really wanted the Jets to win this game, and it's not looking good right there for sure. So just keeping you an update on that game. The Lions win, and they have a chance to get in. But the Jets has got to pull off a win, or the Rams has got to pull off a win for that to happen. Stop. It's always cardiac. It's not right. Being a Lions fan, Ant-Man, it's the cardiac. It's always coming down to the last. Did you expect it coming down to the last game of the year? Always, man.
This is what we wanted, isn't it? We wanted these games. I mean, when was the last time we were still talking competitive football in January? Usually we'd be like onto our 5th or 6th mock drafts by now. Just, looking there. I've not even looked at my boards yet, really. It's it's a ride, but when you start 1-6, it's never going to be an easy ride to get to the playoffs. It's so infrequently done that, of course, it's going to come down to the last week. But this is how I would have it. Like I said, I know a lot of people want Green Bay to lose so that we can go there next week, but I'm one of those guys. I think if I get into the playoffs as a team, I want to feel like I've earned the right to be there. And, we had a really bad start. I know we've won a lot of games recently, but I've earned the right to go to the playoffs if I go to the home of the Green Bay Packers and lay an ass whooping down on Karen Rodgers and crew there. And that's like, you know what? We're ready to go. We're ready to go and perform with some of the best in the NFL, and we're ready for those big, high-impact postseason games. I don't want to sneak in the back door or anything. I think this is the way I would rather it be this season. So, yeah, it's going to be stressful. It's going to be tight, but this is what we want. We don't want to be talking draft at the start of December. So I'll take this 100 times out of 100.
I just hate the stress, man. Being a Lions fan is stressful. Let's be honest.
It's not like it's not like we've got any hair left to lose, so it's fine.
That's true. The stress of being this
Dan
fan,
does,
though, it always comes down to the final. If you're a Lions fan, except for this last game, which was really nice, not a cardiac cath game, but generally it does. So yeah, it looks not looking good. The Vikings are dropping an L. It's not the biggest there. It's the Jets game we have to really, really, really watch. And it looks like the Jets are dropping L. So we gotta definitely root for the Rams next week, unless they did an epic comeback. We'll see. Herm will be on in a couple of minutes. Just waiting for him to drop on. Herman Moore to give him thoughts of the game, and definitely even Dan's hair, man. Dan's got the only one hair on this bad boy. I got to ask you a question, Dan. Why do you say Campbell about Dan Campbell?
It's just how I pronounce it, man. So, yeah, I got razzed over that this week pretty hard.
Yeah, it's Campbell, man. Just think of like Cam Bell, not Campbell. It sounds weird. It sounds really weird. That must be like a Michigan thing. Must be a Michigan thing. But you got the hairs. That always is a win. You got the most hair on this bad boy. Where can they find your channel?
You can find me on Lions Talk Live. So anytime you get a little bored, want to listen to some Lions chat, part of the Lions Nation Unite Corps, then find me on YouTube at Lions Talk Live.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So he joined LNU. He's going to be part of the crew. We talk all things Detroit Lions on this bad boy, and that's great. Dr. Detroit says Campbell is how I pronounce it too, as two names, Campbell, Campbell. It's like
might be the Italian part, like the Italians say
the Italian
spaghetti.
stallion.
Yeah,
the Italian stallion. Where can they find Aurora Lions UK? You're almost to 1,000. You're getting close there, man.
Yeah, no, we're trying really hard at the minute. But yeah, as Mike says, you can find us at Roar the Lions UK. We're on YouTube, Twitch, that. If you want to hear opinions about the Lions from a group of guys from across the Atlantic, a little bit different, then come check us out. We do shows on Mondays, Wednesday, and Thursday. So yeah, if you want something different, come find us.
Yeah, 100%. Give a shout out to Dan the man for joining LNU. got him in this mug, and we're getting some big things going on here. Big things going on here. Field goal by the Green Bay Packers. They're up 17-3, and it's 4th and 24 for Seattle, so they're going to have to punt. So that is good. So even if the Packers win, we definitely want Seattle to lose. We definitely rooting for the Jets, and we'll see. Now it's gonna be on the road. It's gonna be cold out in Green Bay. Can the Lions win in the cold? Because I've heard this idea that they're just not good in the cold. Obviously, we lose to Carolina, and so that idea comes out there. But Ant-Man, do you think that they can win in the cold on the road?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you can't operate in that kind of environment, then why are you playing in the NFL? You shouldn't be. You should be able to adapt and adjust to any environment and go out there and win. And we play in this part of the country. We play in cold stadiums. We went to Carolina. I know we got our ass handed to us then, but I think it was just a perfect storm of they'd had their ass handed to them the week before. We were on a winning streak, kind of believing the hype a bit. I don't think it was indicative of us just playing bad on the road. I think it was a load of factors there. But yeah, 100% can see us going and winning a game. We won at Soldier Field this year. That's like not exactly Hawaii when you go there and play well. So play warm. So I think they absolutely could go there and win. And if they can't, then you can't be on this team. You've got to be able to play in these bad weather environments and go and win if you want to. So, no, I don't think it will affect us because I just think we've just got a really dynamic team. We can run the ball well, we can pass the ball well. We can hit you in any one sort of different ways. The defense is getting its act together. We've got the pass rush, we've got the D line. That affects games. So, no, I don't think the weather's going to be a factor. I strongly believe that we can go there and win because I think all the pressure is on them. And for us, this is a shot. We can just take our hardest shot and go for it. And like I said, if we're not ready, we're not. For the Packers, they're expected to win it. And with that comes a lot of pressure. And we've seen this year, we've played teams under pressure and they've buckled. So, yeah, we can win
Jax says
that.
that's a dumb question. Well, clearly you haven't been hearing the narrative around Detroit Lions on the road. So it's not a dumb question unless you're living in under a rock. But that is the narrative, is they cannot win in the cold. It's not a dumb question. Dan, what do you think? Can they win on the road in the cold?
Absolutely. I mean, you think about we've won both times in New York. We've won in Chicago. And none of those were great conditions out there, especially the game against the Jets. So you've proven you can win in 30 to 39 degree weather. Even last week against Carolina, while our defense had major struggles, I know also one of the narratives is that Goff couldn't perform in cold weather. But he had 3 touchdowns, no picks. It wasn't his greatest game ever. But some of that was because Carolina was so strong in their running game, they made us one-dimensional. You took away play action. Against the Jets, I thought we played very well for the most part. Our offense was stagnant a little bit, but some of that's a credit to the Jets' defense. And just like the Giants, I thought we just played a great game overall.
I think the Lions can win on the road in the cold. This is not a finesse team, folks. I think that's old Lions. Finesse. This is a physical team. You can run the football, the defensive line and offensive line. That's how you win in the NFL, in the cold. When it's on the road, is you got to have a sound defensive line and an offensive line, and you run the football. That gives you the ability to win on the road. Now, Jared Goff, is his numbers probably worse outside? I'm sure. But you want to know what? If you compare other quarterbacks in a dome and compared to outside, I'm sure all domes look a little bit better. It's just,
right.
This is the way it is. Why? It's because it's a controlled environment. And you're at home. I mean, so you're always going to be better when you're at home and in a controlled environment. That's just the way that it works. So I don't think it's Jared Goff can't do it, this and that. I don't think that's the case. I truly don't. And I think they'll be perfectly fine. It's going to be tough, though. It's not going to be a give me. Definitely not going to be that because you're going in Green Bay, and that's just it's just facts. It's going to be a fun game. I think the Lions can pull it off. Pull it off. I haven't done obviously the stats. The Green Bay crowd's going to be on fire. They're going to be going ape. They started 4-8. They'll have a chance now to make the playoffs if they win this game. So they're going to be going crazy for sure. And I think the Lions, I think their offense is just too hard. Like, it's hard to match it. It is so hard to match this offense because everyone is a threat. Brock Wright, James Mitchell, and Zane Zylster. Who would have said those guys are threats? But they are threats. Jared Goff finds them and they get touchdowns. That's just what they do. I mean, Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift, a threat in the run game and in the pass game. Obviously, the wide receiver. So I think it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult, but I think the Lions can get it done. I think they can. If they need to play physical, a run game, they can do it. If they need to do a pass game and to come back, they can do it. I think they can, and I believe that they can do it. So,
Mike, I'll throw something at you.
They got
Minnesota,
Ben Johnson, a wizard right now.
Is Minnesota intentionally trying to lose this game because they'd rather face Green Bay in the opening round of the playoffs versus Detroit?
I don't believe that's the case. I'm not going to believe that is the case at all. I mean, I think if you're Minnesota and you look at, well, do you really want Green Bay to come in? Like, what's worse, Karen Rodgers? I think the Lions are a scarier team, but at the same time, I do not believe they're purposely throwing a game. That's just, it's hard for me to think that. It's really, and you got to see, they're fighting for that number 1 seed, too. Remember, Philadelphia Eagles lost. Minnesota wants that number 1 seed. They want that bye week. So it's a potential that we may not be even, like, if we got in, we could be facing another team. So they're fighting for that bye week. They're fighting for every yard. It's just an NFC North showdown, and they're kind of laying an egg. We've seen them laying an egg with the Indianapolis Colts. Matthew Stafford, because I just seen this by Dr. Detroit, and Jared Goff. Jared Goff's not throwing interceptions. Matthew Stafford's, I think he's got the better arm, but he throws a lot of picks. Who would you have right now? I honestly, I know this is going to sound, people are going to think I'm crazy, but I'm going to take Jared Goff because I don't like interceptions. What do you think for you, Ant-Man?
I mean, that was silly, but right now I'd take Jared Goff. You don't know how Stafford would fit in this system. You would figure that he won't favour his tight ends as much because he never really used to. You'd figure he'd be going after the deep threats a lot more, but then we have a run game, so when he adjusts this game, there's too many things there. Jared Goff right now fits this scheme perfectly. He utilises our tight ends. The room is not the best, but he utilises them to be the best. He's got his favourite receiver in Amon Ra, but he spreads the ball out everywhere. He's confident, he's accurate. Like I say, the turnovers. No turnovers. I know there was the fumble the other week, but he's keeping hold of the ball damn well.
Yeah.
And I would have him, but it's not a knock on the whole staff thing. I love staff, and I'd have him in this team, but I think I would just have Goff right now. This is his team now. For the first time since he's been here, it feels like it's his team, it's his offense, and they are all dancing to his tune, and that's what you want. So of course I'll take Goff.
I'm with you, man. And turnovers win and lose you games. And I think when I would watch Matthew Stafford, it drove me I'd get so angry watching these interceptions. And watching Jared Goff, yeah, he's not throwing into these prolific windows. I don't need him to do that, though. I just need him to take care of the football. And he's done that. He's got the number 1 active streak right now of not having interceptions. He's number 1 in the NFL. That's all I can ask for. That's like, for me, that's how you win games, is just don't be an idiot. What about you, Dan? What's up, Don Burr?
100% I'd take Goff just because he's 5 years younger. He's a couple back injuries healthier, and throwing elbow healthier, neck injury and multiple concussions healthier. I mean, Stafford is not a bad quarterback by any stretch. Goff isn't an exceptional quarterback by any stretch. But I will say this, Goff this season, for the most part, has played exceptionally to his skill strengths. He's pretty accurate. He's learned to stay in the pocket better, which he wasn't doing earlier. He's not turning the ball over. I mean, he's hitting some deep plays here and there. He's just moving the chains, putting points on the board. And really, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Did you take care of the ball? Did you get us touchdowns? And did you not give the other team an extra scoring opportunity?
100% agree. Did did Cousins really throw another interception? You know, a lot of people saying Cousins for MVP of the NFL. I don't think so. Man, this dude throwing interceptions. See, this is how you lose games. You throw interceptions. That's 100% it. I don't care how many yards you throw for. You throw interceptions, you lose the game. It's simple as that. So, and we just seen it right there. If you've not hit that like button, hit that like button. Waiting for Herm to get on. Should be on any minute. Herman Moore giving thoughts of the game. And not looking good for the Minnesota Vikings. They're looking like they're going to drop an L here, which, honestly, it sucks, but that's not the game you really need to watch. It's more of the Jets and Seahawks game. And right now, at least the Jets, they've stopped the bleeding. It's 6-17, down by 11. They've stopped the bleeding, so we'll see how well they keep going on. Hopefully they can do a second half comeback and win that game. But, yeah, I think Jared Goff playing really well right now. And you got to show some love to the man throwing no interceptions. Throwing no interceptions. You do that, you win games. You do that, you win games, and that's it. And they punted. So they're going to the half there. The Jets and Seahawks, that's about to go to it's in halftime now, 6-17. Packers about to score again. So because Kirk Cousins throwing interceptions. Can't have it. Also, the LA Chargers is beating the Rams right now. So that is for the draft spot. They just had a massive sack going on there. What was the play of the game for you, Ant-Man, in this game? What was the play of the game?
Play of the game. Ugh. I don't know. I hate to go back to it, but I would say it was Pascal's first sack, because I think that's where things changed for the defense. And, you know, if we'd have continued to hemorrhage the running the way we were, and, you know, it was sort of allowing Fields to pass it more, I think it could have been a different game. You know, if the defense doesn't shut up shop, then we might not have won so comfortably. So, you know, Pascal's first sack just changed everything on defense. That's the play of the game for me.
I don't think it's an NFL record, Dr. Detroit, about the interceptions for Jared Goff. I don't believe that's the case. But right now he's best in the NFL of the last, I think it's almost 300 snaps without an interception, something around there. And that's really, like, he just hasn't done it. He just stopped it. And I love it. I love it. And that's how you win football games. I don't think so. What is the play of the game for you, my guy there, Dan?
I'm going to go with 3rd and 18, Swift's run up the middle where he spins and busts out, because it's early in the third quarter. We're up 14. And I just really felt like at that point, when we hit that run, we broke Chicago's defense's back.
Herm's in the building. What's going on, Herm?
Hey, not much. You know, living a dream, man.
How'd you like this game? Thoughts on the game?
Oh, I thought it was a big win for this team. Also getting back to even, but more importantly, just to see that they bounced back from a Carolina loss that was, you know, I think a wake-up call for them, that you just can't walk into any game and think you're going to be able to take that momentum from the week before. You got to earn it every week. And today I felt that, you know, Chicago had some opportunities. You're talking about a team that was really down coming into it. Chicago really doesn't have anything to play for, and yet if you break their back early, and they blew some opportunities early, that allowed the Lions to really just take control of the game. And they really dominated. I was really impressed with the defense, impressed with the way the linebackers played. I don't think there was a lot of threat in the secondary from the Bears receivers, especially once, you know, you look at Fields, once he was contained. They really had only a one-man show. Their running game solid, but it was just the Lions came ready. They understand what's at stake. And it was just a great showing for them. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily, it's an important victory, but there's still some work to be done. We're hoping to get in before the end of the day, but we'll see how that goes.
Question for Herm, Dan.
You know, Herm, look at how this team started and how it's kind of resurrected its season, its coaching staff, etc. What would you say, worst case scenario, the Lions don't make the postseason? How big is it psychologically for this team to have such a strong finish?
The finish, I think, is going to be everything. Right now, if they go out and they win, and still miss the playoffs, they win their game next week, it won't be a letdown, because I think there's enough that's been seen and earned by this young team, and this just amazing turnaround that happened in the second half of the season, that's going to be enough to elevate them, to make them an attractive team. They're going to be one of the darlings, I think, going into next season. A lot of people nationally may disagree with that and think that, well, it's just the Lions, and they look at the schedule and look at some of the teams they faced. But I think they've been impressive against teams, whether they're going into the playoffs, their opponents or not. I think this is a team that's taken a lot that they've learned from this past season into next season in preparation for it. So I look for them to be even stronger.
Ant-Man, question for her.
This draft class that's just gone by, is this potentially one of the most impressive the Lions have ever had? I mean, everyone contributed, it seemed, today. Pascal seems to be getting a lot better. Houston is just some kind of crazy story at the minute, what he's doing. 3 sacks, a forced fumble. It's crazy. Is it one of the best ones they've potentially ever had? And what sort of job does it show that Brad Holmes is doing, being able to find this talent just all over?
Well, you're going to have to give a lot of credit where credit is due. I think it starts with picking the players. But then once the players get there, they have to do their part. And then you have to have the coaches that align them with the right scheme, with the right chemistry of other players and teammates when they're out on the field, the right packages. And that's what I've seen really turn around. You look at the offensive play calling, you look at the play sets, the constant rotation of players offensively and defensively that the Lions are having go in and out of rotation. They have a system in place. It's not just players getting a relief because they've been in the game or they're taking too many snaps or it's situational. But I think there's an actual plan and packages that they feel give them the best team to win. And it's not about who gets the most snaps. And that's what I see as a very unselfish team. I see one that understands the ultimate goal in a team sport like this is to win. So when you look at what's happened in the draft, is it one of the best drafts? I think it's one of the best drafts in terms of taking players that you just thought you were just getting a lot of talent and you were going to have to develop it, that developed so quickly. There probably going to be other drafts that we can look at and say has had stronger players overall, but this is a team that has taken just some players who from really out of nowhere and really turned them into starters or solid backup players. And that goes a long way when you're trying to build a championship caliber team.
The Detroit Lions, they mauled the Chicago Bears. They is that what you wanted to see after taking that big old L to Carolina? To come out, just really be aggressive and just maul them? That's what I wanted to see.
I think they're still vulnerable to quarterbacks who have escapability and that have athleticism that can escape and get outside the pocket. If you look at they wouldn't be able to play some of the coverages if there's a team that has a mobile quarterback, plus they have targets on the outside that can make plays. I think the defense will still have some struggles until they face teams like that on a regular basis. But you expected to see them go out and have the strong showing that they had today. If you look at what they had happened to them against Carolina, I thought it was going to be another one of those, but Justin Fields only going to have so much gas in his tank after having 100 yards in the first quarter. But I'll say this, guys. When I look at the Lions, what I'm really optimistic about is that if you look at the NFC North and just focus there, where does this team play when you start thinking about postseason opportunity? Will they be at the top 1 or 2 spaces inside of this division for next 2, 3, 4 years? And I think there's a case and an argument that can be made that they will be there. Therefore, they will have opportunities to do something with this team and to give it optimism. And as far as what their ability will be to be a successful team with postseason opportunities to potentially win a championship and win a Super Bowl. But Minnesota and the Lions, I see right now really sitting at the top of the NFC North right now.
Love it. Dan, question.
I'll throw one at you, Herm. Forward, again, trying to look at this team's future. What's the number one obstacle you think it faces that it will need to address in the offseason for next year?
Well, right now, the team, to me, they look really solid. The only vulnerable area I ever still see them at, and I'm going to sound like a broken record quarterback, because Jared Goff is playing lights out. And he is right now making a case that you can say he's probably playing like one of the top 5 quarterbacks easily in the NFL right now. And if you're looking at someone who's going to lead your team and you put him around talent like he's had, and he's got the coordinator, he's got some skilled players, he's got a running game, look at the play action effectiveness, that's great. One running back goes down, you got 2 more that can come in and, as of right now, that can take over. You get a receiver here or there, 1 or 2 receivers go down, you still have enough. I think that's been gained this year by the receiving core, and also factoring in the tight end. Now that there's comfortability, and I think this is a team that is feeling very good about their offensive pieces. And then you can see the rotation defensively. There's still some holes potentially in the secondary, but I think that quarterback becomes what happens, because we've seen all the other positions go down, right? The offensive line, the defensive line, linebackers, defensive back, receivers, running backs, and they've been able to stay the course. What happens in that position? That is the only thing I see right now as being a potential issue for this team.
Man, I agree. Man, if Jared Goff goes down next year, oof, that's rough. So I agree. I think you need a better back. I love Sudfeld when he's taking the knee, Herm, on the field to win the game. But I'm not sure I'd like him to play a couple games if our quarterback goes down. Ant-Man, what do you got?
In terms of the team itself, how big is this win for them today? Because everyone said last week, Carolina, the season's on the line. It's kind of the meaningful games in December. They got blown out. And I know this is not the best Chicago team in the world, but this is still a meaningful game of football in January that they're playing, and they've came out and they've won convincingly. Is this a really big win for the team? And people will say, might I say it's not, but if you're looking at this team, how they played, does this show that sort of the mentality is maturing there, that they're learning to win the high pressure games? And then sort of conversely to that, where do you sort of see the team is at now, nearly at the end of the second season? Are they on the threshold of being a playoff team, do you reckon, from what you've seen of them?
I think they're a team. There's a few parts there. Two things I see. Was this a defining game or something that made me think a little differently about them and their ability as a team? No, because I don't think the competition that they faced was one that you would face in the playoffs. I don't think Chicago, with their record, obviously looking at it and seeing the lack of talent offensively other than the running game, this wasn't a team that should have given them a lot of problems. And then also the fact the Lions were playing at home, I think was an added advantage to playing a team that is, kind of on the lower spectrum and lower tier of the teams in the NFL. Now, having said that, they did what they were supposed to do, and that was win an important game, not have any letdowns, play lights out, play a very solid football game offensively and defensively, and take care of business. Now it gives them an opportunity to go against the Green Bay Packers and play a very meaningful game at the end of the season, which many of us wouldn't have thought that would have happened if you look at the first 6-7 games of the season. So to get back to this point to where that last game of the season actually is going to be meaningful is a big deal for this team. But they still have to win out. And then, again, tonight have a loss or have at least a loss next week in the event that Seattle wins. But this is a big game. Don't want to take anything away from that. But there's going to be some challenges along the way. And there are no guarantees once they get past this season. They got to start over next year and do it all over again.
Even if the Lions don't make the playoffs, do you think this is a successful season?
I think it's a successful season in that they didn't quit and that they came back and to put themselves in a position and to just come and do it in such a dominant way against teams that many will say there's a loss or two that the Lions should have had in this last 8-game stretch. But they somehow came out of it and with flying colors. And there's nothing to be taken away. I think this is a successful season for multiple reasons. One, for the coaching staff and Dan Campbell, I think solidifying that he is a coach that no matter what you thought of him when he originally was hired, I think you realize that he definitely has the pulse of the team. And this is a team that wants to play with him and for him. The next one is, can they develop talent and get late draft round picks and turn them into starters and superstars? Yes. So there's comfortability and there's confidence there. So there's now you just say, get as many picks as you can, and then we'll do the rest in developing that talent as long as we get those that have the tools that can be at this level. Then the third thing is answering the question of whether or not Jared Goff was a good pick or a swap with Matthew Stafford. I think now you look at Matthew's first season, Jared Goff's second season. It's almost like you're looking at a rematch coming up in season 3 against these two after one has won one battle and one's won the other one, like you see in boxing matches and other competitions. So I think there's still some work to be done, but I'm going to go ahead and chalk this up as successful regardless of what happens against Green Bay.
Ant-Man, you wanted to say something quick.
No, you briefly mentioned Dan there. I mean, he's undergone phenomenal growth. I think as a head coach this year, I feel like he has. Do you feel like he is the guy for Detroit who can lead them to postseason success now? Have you seen the growth from him that would give you confidence to believe that he's the right guy?
He is, and not just because of the players that he has here and the coaching staff that he has, but those that are watching, being a former player, I know you look and see how other players are treated. You look at the enthusiasm and the motivation of other players, both when their seasons are down, but also when they start to come back. And a lot has been documented and mentioned in the media about Dan Campbell, and he's gained a lot of respect, not only in the coaching ranks, but amongst the players. So it's going to be an attractive place for other potential free agents to come to, and those that are just looking not to just resurrect a career, but those that are looking to potentially go out and play with young talent and win championships. I think they're going to be eyeing Detroit in the upcoming years.
Appreciate everybody hanging out. Herm, last words before we close this thing.
I think it's been one heck of a season. I think this is what the fan base has been looking for. I think we, as those that follow the team and cover them, not only on the media side and the social side, but just those that really want to see this team win. And I want to see it from a different reason, and that is as a player. You want to see the players and the organization have some success since we had in 1991, and then also going to the playoffs in 2016. So I'm excited about that. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on our channel. Continue to follow us here. Continue to chime in. I love when we get on these and have these conversations. So that's my little bit to give to it. I just want to say my appreciation to everyone.
I appreciate everybody hanging out. Have a great Happy New Year. What a great way to start 2023 with a victory, right? Big game next week.
It works.
Going to be a big one. With that said, folks, see you. Peace.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me. And what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan. Your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the hours it takes to get some power. Don't be f***ing sour. Take a cold shower. Scream until you're louder. Work until you're prouder. And f*** all the doubters, they're just your downers. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm off at these fucking clowns who were all taught they deserve an ounce. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't